I mean, I think it's just I have a lot of experience, right? So I know what to do at which stage of the game, and I think not taking away from Wunder and Perks, they also know the game. But I'm the jungler, so I can be everywhere on the map in the early game. So I feel like it's my job to kind of lead the game to make sure that people are happy throughout the game.
Hi guys, this is Pedro and I'm back with a brand new interview, again covering week 2 of the LEC 2024 Winter Split. I am here accompanied by Jankos, the jungler for Team Heretics, after going 4-2 overall in the winter standings, thus finishing at a tie for second place overall. Jankos, thank you once again for taking the time and just having this quick conversation with me. I just want to start off by covering this recent match that just ended in favor of you guys over Karmine Corp, and just what made that result possible from your perspective?
I mean, I just think that they didn't find Karmine Corp didn't find a way to play the game yet, like the way their identity, so to speak, right? I think they want to put bone carries, but not every game it's possible to just blind pick a carry and get away with it. And well, they did in this game. Besides that, I just don't think they are a very strong team, right? I mean, they like in macro game, they like in early game, they like in laning phase. I just feel like they are just not great overall. So it's not surprising to me that they are 0-6. Yeah.
I guess it wasn't really that much of an issue for you and the rest of the team to overcome Carmine Core, despite a pretty even matched early game in that sense.
Yeah, I mean, I think early game was decently evenly matched, but I do think that we had like a better plan going into the game, if that makes sense. So even though it seemed like the gold is even, as soon as we dive bot and Draven got one kill and got the Yomo goes by going, the game was permanently under our control, right? So as much as our games tend to be very slow when we are winning, we are always confident that in the end we are gonna win.
Of course, and it's the end of a pretty good week for Team Heretics, going 2-1, despite falling 2G2 in the middle stretch of the week, and so covering the whole week in the general sense. What do you feel was the biggest pros and cons that you seen out of the team, and also from your own individual performance so far?
Well, I mean, I think we are a pretty good team fighting team, and I also think we have good laning phase, or better than last year at least. Probably we don't play aggressive enough sometimes when we can push our release more, but I don't think that's a big problem. In the end, we do close out games, and the games that we are winning, we won, and the 2 games that we lost, it was against Matt and G2, and I think both drafts were actually really bad. And they played much cleaner early game than us that time, so it was just hard to play. But I think some of the games we also won because we had just the better comp, right? So it's difficult to say what's gonna happen in the BO3s, which I believe we should be qualified by now. Maybe not yet, but soon. Maybe one more win for sure, but I mean, I think we should be making by now, right? So I'm looking forward to more games and seeing how we can perform. I also think we stepped up a lot in our team practice the last week. I think we had more meaningful scrims, and we actually showed up a lot more in scrims than we did before. So I'm happy with how we progress, and I think there's still a lot to work on. But well, it's looking decent, you know.
Yeah, decent indeed. And uh, covering the entire team's progression slash development from the earliest part of this year to now. I remember I had a conversation with Perks before the start of the winter split, and he mentioned about how the team didn't really have much time to have enough scrims, given that it's like roughly a few weeks before the start of the actual winter split. And so now that you guys have been able to get a lot of reps in both inside on the main stage and also outside of the main stage. How would you describe the team's identity nowadays compared to how it was in the initial stages of just getting to know each other ish? Given that you're already familiar with each other in the past.
Well, I think that we started off quite. mm we didn't need much introduction because we kind of all of us played with each other in the past. Maybe not exactly me and Kaiser, but Luca and Kaiser did. So everyone kind of knew each other, right, in a way through teammates. So I feel like we needed to recognize how do we want to play early games and who is going to be leading at what point of the game. And I think we are much better at that since week one. We are also much better at understanding 2 lanes and understanding how to move around the map quicker. I still feel like we need to be better at this and we need to understand the map better, but so far, I mean, again, it's we are slowly progressing, right? And it's enough to win the games we did, but again, some of the drafts we had were just winning, and some of the drafts we had were just losing. So it's very hard to say which teams are actually good and or not based on BO1s, right? We will see in the next stage of the LEC.
And I had another conversation this time with Flackett the week after I talked to Perks, and he mentioned about how the team had like plenty. I think the lights went out.
Yeah, I think the lights went out, and I can't do anything about it. So maybe
All
they're
right.
telling me that it should be the time. I
Uh,
can try to lean in closer. Maybe you'll see me better.
Okay. Well, getting back to my question, I remember this conversation that I had with Flackett in after week one of the regular season, and how he mentioned about the team's issues um, during matches, and how that sort of gravitated towards communications. And when I say that, it's because of just how there was too many people talking at one time during matches, during comms, and just having to just basically having everything be cluttered all at once. And so I asked him about who's the main shot caller now, and he pointed towards yourself. And so that said, how did you view what's your perspective on the team's issues, specifically on the comps, and how you were able to take the initiative and just be the focal point, the leader ish of the team's comms during matches so far at this point of the year?
I mean, I think it's just I have a lot of experience, right? So I know what to do at which stage of the game, and I think not taking away from Wunder and Perks, they also know the game. But I'm the jungler, so I can be everywhere on the map in the early game. So I feel like it's my job to kind of lead the game to make sure that people are happy throughout the game. And then when it comes to mid game, it's not always me that makes the final call, if that makes sense. But I try to start the conversation going, and I try to make sure that everyone's on the same page. I mean, probably it's because I had this job in last year as well, right? Where we played with different teammates, and not all of them were always as experienced or as knowledgeable. So it was easy for me to lead the team, and I feel like it translates into me doing this, and I also did this in G2. So I mean, it's just something I do, right? It's just that's my job in a way, right? I take it very seriously that our early games are prepped for and that we are good in them. And in a way, against Mad and G2, it went horrible. But I also do think it was partially because of how hard it was to play through our lanes in these games, strictly according to the draft. But at the same time, some of our games were not only on me; it was on us just having the better draft. So again, we will see.
Now comparing this team to, last season, as you mentioned in your recent answer. Of course, we're still in the early part of the 2024, so there's not much weight into it per se. But how would you compare the current level of the team right now in its new iteration, current iteration, compared to how it was at this point last season, in which you guys had
Oh, I mean,
heavy
last
improving
season
that?
we were yeah, I mean, I think at that time in the winter split, I mean, we did make top 8 that time, but I think we're kind of bad. I think we had some chance that we could play, and maybe okay, honestly, I think the league itself was a lower level back then. And I think we were not very good, and I think we didn't understand a lot of the concept that we understand now, and we were definitely had more communication issues and were less on the same page. And as much as we make top 8, we couldn't actually like beat anyone because we were really not that good. I think right now the team is much better state, and I think we are gonna do a lot of damage throughout the European run this year.
Now towards week three, as I mentioned, your opponents being, um, as I mentioned before, BDS Vitality and also Fnatic. Basically, general. What are your thoughts on your next set of opponents? What have you seen from them so far, and how are you looking to take them on?
Well, I mean, I think that BDS is 5-1, right, as the only team, so they are quite solid. I think the drafts are very good, and I think that the game understanding and their win condition play is very good. And I actually think the players are very solid too. So I wouldn't put them as like the best team in Europe, even though they have 5 wins. Or I would definitely put them as like a very like top 4, top 5 team. Where I mean, they're a very very good team. I don't know what's their peak, but for now, I would say they had the most consistent, steady, good play showing from any other team. So it's gonna be a hard game. Fnatic obviously very high peak. I think all of them are very good. I think June is a good addition to the team. They still seem to be on the same page. I think botlane is going better. I mean, I think Trimby was really good too, but maybe June and Noah have better communication, and maybe they understand themselves better. And I also think that Razor stepped up a lot since last year. I think by summer last year he was playing much better than he did like ever in his life, I think. So he's much tougher opponent now than he used to be, like, let's say 1.5 year ago. And then Humanoid, Oscarin, I think they are just very good, So I think all of our games will be tough. The last one will be Vitality, which technically should be the easiest, but they did just go 3-0, and they're also decent and solid team. So I mean, all the games will be hard, honestly.
And hopefully we'll see more good things for Team Heretics and also yourself, Jankos, in the future. Thank you once again for the interview. I really appreciate you taking the time, and best of luck in the future.
Thank you very much. Have a nice
All
day.
right, you too, man.
Bye bye.